Okay, let's do today's yoga. So before we start, I'd like to ask that you become aware that every practice you do will be different. Some practices may feel easier than others, and to not judge on this, just accept and adapt. One of the best things the human being can do is adapt to change. And your practice each day, you're going to come at feeling differently because we're continually changing. So just be aware of this and allow it to take place, and understand that if on one day your practice isn't so great and you feel like giving up and thinking this isn't working, just step back from that and acknowledge that that was just your practice for today, and that going forward tomorrow's practice might be better. So just keep that in mind, because we're coming up to, I think we're on day 28, and around this time, if you have been practicing every day, there might be a feeling of wanting to give up because you're not seeing any results, and I just encourage you to continue, because those results are going to come in, and as they do, they'll just keep progressing, and they're beneficial. The benefits are great. So keep up your practice and just be aware that each one is going to feel totally different. So with that in mind, let's tune in to our breath. Let's lift up and create space within our body, within our mind. You might like to close the eyes. As you scan the body for any pockets of tension that you might be holding on to, take a nice deep breath into these and then allow them to unravel. Allow yourself the experience of letting go. Soften through those shoulders. Allow the shoulders to drop down. Soften through the skin on the face, especially along the jawline, the throat, the neck. And connect with your flow of breath. With the eyes closed, you see directly in front of your face the air that you are about to breathe in. And you acknowledge the coolness of it as it enters your nostrils. And as that breath comes into you, you observe how your chest lifts and pushes forward, your ribcage opens and your lungs inflate, and your diaphragm contracts, it moves downward. It presses, pushes, massages on your organs in the lower torso, your organs such as your stomach, your kidneys, your spleen, your liver. And then that breath out, the diaphragm relaxes, therefore it returns to its original position, and everything around it relaxes too. The ribcage closes, the chest lowers, and air is pushed out of you. So you're tuned in to the flow of breath now, understanding how the breath can allow you to soften and release and surrender, and with this comes the ability to have more freedom of movement. Let's open the eyes. Let's just uncross those feet, the legs, and draw the soles of the feet together now. Link the fingers and bring them around the toes. Baddha Konasana, bound cobbler. Breathe in and draw up and elevate through the torso. Lift internally the pubis to navel. And then gently allow the knees to start flickering. like the butterfly. And be aware of the butterfly and how when you see it move through the atmosphere, how light it is. So draw in this sense of lightness and just let the knees flicker and draw inward, look inward towards the hips and allow them that lightness. Release them, soften them. You possibly hold a great deal of tension in the hips. Just let it go. Perhaps see your tension as a three-corded rope, and now those three cords that bind to make that rope, they're unravelling, and with that you feel this sense of softness coming over you, this sense of suppleness entering. So breathe in and out, follow your breath and allow the movement to unravel. And then we'll gently bring the hands outside of the knees, draw the knees together, the feet together. You're now going to glue those knees together as you place the hands either side of your hips and gently just roll from side to side. So we're mobilizing, loosening the hips further. So be aware if you're doing this and allowing those knees to separate. Get that mind gluing them together. A simple message from the mind to the knees: stick together. Rolling from side to side and then draw back to a central position, and then we'll come round onto the knees, onto the hands, and we'll get ourselves in that tabletop position. Make a great foundation for the posture, so get your knees hip width apart, get your hands shoulder width apart, spread your fingers. You can have your index fingers pointing straight ahead of you, or if you have any wrist injuries and want to adapt, then move your fingers, your wrists, your hands to a point that is nice and comfortable for you. Let's take a breath in and have a little tilt of the pelvis so that we're smoothing out the lower back, getting a nice straight line. We've unclenched our teeth and we're allowing that breath to flow through us. Let's turn the toes under. Again, we're going to pull the stomach in because it's going to support the spine and it's also going to have that upward energetic feeling. So we breathe in and we lift the knees, we lift the hips, the buttocks, the tailbone, and then we draw ourselves to stretch down through the backs of the legs. We also create a stretch from the palms of our hands, lifting up through the wrists, to the elbows, to the armpits. Let's have our ears brushing on the insides of our upper arms. Draw the chin to your chest and look between your knees, or look towards your belly button. Breathing in and out. We're then going to release the right foot just a couple of inches above the mat. Pull into your core strength, think about the belly button, and release the left hand just slightly above the mat. Keep the breath flowing. And lower. Taking your time, readjust. Get the body weight circulating, distributing equally and evenly between the 2 feet and the 2 hands. Pull focus. Let's release the left foot just above the mat. Release the right hand. Breathe. Focus. Connect. And then return to that central position. Nice breath in and out. Let's slowly then walk our feet towards our hands. Take your time.
You might need to bend the knees to bring those feet between the hands. And then you might need to keep the knees bent so that your hands are resting on the floor. But if you can straighten the legs, then that's the aim. Let go of the back of the neck. Allow all the creases to smooth out from the back of the neck. So the crown of the head is pointing down towards the mat. Be aware if you've pushed your buttocks to the wall behind you. Take a breath in and draw the buttocks forwards and over the heels of the feet so that they're actually aligned. Your buttocks are travelling down in an alignment with the heels of the feet. Now this may cause a transference of weight to rush into the toes. That's fine, just make adaptation thereafter. So take any tension out the toes, pick the toes up and give them a bit of a wiggle. And get your weight dispersing between the balls of the feet, the heels of the feet. Lift the insteps a little, get some weight on the outer edges of your feet. And then tuck your chin to your chest, breathe in and begin to rise upwards. Restacking the bones of your spine, pulling the stomach in, tilting the pelvis, until eventually your shoulders rest over your hips, and then you can bring the chin parallel to the mat. Now stand secure for a couple of moments to let those new levels of oxygen within the brain settle. Because you've been inverted, you've done a forward bend whereby your head has been below your heart. Therefore, when you're breathing, extra oxygen is being pumped into the brain. It's the natural pull of gravity downwards. So it's very beneficial. You've got a lovely, new, fresh, rich, oxygenated blood supply to the brain. However, if you come up too fast, it could make you feel a little bit lightheaded or dizzy, so you need to come up slowly. Yourself into Tadasana, mountain posture. Bring the hands to the heart. Take a nice deep inhalation and exhalation, making yourself as tall as you can be, checking in with all parts of the body. If there's any that are being a little sluggish, then activate and engage them. Another breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to jump, step or walk your feet 3.5 feet apart. With your toes pointing towards 12 o'clock, you're going to engage the muscles of the leg. You're going to lift the flesh from the ankles up the outer edge of the legs to the hips. You're going to lift up through the inner thighs and hit back with the inner thighs, meaning hit the muscle towards the bones. That's really forming a nice tone of flesh and muscle. We're going to take a breath in and take the hands to shoulder level. We're then going to stretch through the arms, really drawing again the skin and the muscle back towards the bone. It might be that you've got soft, flabby skin underneath the arm. Well, send a simple message from the mind to the flesh and tell it to pull back. Tell it to join towards the muscle, and the flesh and muscle surround the bone. And feel as if you're being pulled in both directions, left and right, equally. Let's move into Trikonasana now, triangle posture, which is going to mobilise our hips and is going to bend our spine laterally. That means sideways. Breathe in, pick your toes up, turn them to the left. Looking down at the left heel, you'll check that it's in line with the right instep. You keep the trunk of the body facing ahead of you, and you breathe in and you create space, lifting up from the hips to the armpits, creating elevation in the trunk of the body whilst keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Let's breathe in again, and as we exhale, we start to reach to the left. We want to reach as far as we can before commencing our descent. Now, as we lower, we're going nice and slowly so we can observe and consciously control. We can keep our right shoulder directly above our left and both shoulders in alignment with our hips. It's almost as if we're pinned between two panes of glass. So be honest with yourself. Has your ego stepped in and tried to get your hand down further so that you've actually dropped the right hand side forward? Your rib cage is then pushing into your stomach, and you think you're doing the position correctly, and you're really low down, but you've actually missed a lot of the stretch and nourishment you can get from this position by reclaiming correct alignment. And a good way to check if you are aligned is to get a wall behind you and to keep the back of your right hand, your right shoulder, your left shoulder connected. That's when you'll really feel the full beauty of Trikonasana, triangle posture. Let's take a breath in, pull the stomach in, support the spine, use the sides of the body to return you to that central position. Let's take the toes to 12 o'clock, and by keeping the arms up here you can build up a body strength, but if you need to lower the hands and have a breather, then do so. Let's pick the toes up, turn them in the opposite direction, check their positioning, right heel in line with left instep, check the alignment of your torso. It should be like a column, uplifting, nice and straight. Breathe in, pull up pubis to navel internally, get some space within the pelvic girdle and within the hips, and then let's reach to the right. And begin to lower that right hand down. Now your right hand can either rest onto your right thigh, because this position is so much better than this. Okay, so if this is your stretch for today, that's great. In fact, by keeping your hand on your upper thigh and connecting with your breath, making the space when you breathe in, you can then better understand and experience the surrender as you breathe out, because you'll be able to walk those right fingers down your right leg whilst keeping your left shoulder directly over your right. It's all about having an honest practice as well. The ego is really going to try and appear in your practice all the time, especially if you do have quite a large ego, and some of us humans do, there's no denying it. But it's about truth more than ego, and the real truth in you will come from your guide, and that's your breath, your breathing. So in the fullness of your position where it is today, take another breath in, exhale, and see if you can rotate the trunk of the body a little further. Turn the head and neck on the cervical spine to look up towards the raised thumb. Think about your legs. Are your knees still lifting? Are they active? Are they engaging with the posture? Let's pull the stomach in, and let's use the whole of the trunk of the body, having this brightness, this upward lift, returning us to the central position. So if you need to lower the hands, then do so. If you can keep them raised, great. You're forever building strength in the upper body and the arms. And it will come more and more. So let's just heel and toe our feet slightly wider apart now, still ensuring that you feel comfortable. Let's take a breath in, pull up pubis to navel. Exhale, let's hinge over now. So we've picked our hips up and away from our femur bones, our two thigh bones, and we're now hinging them over. They're a ball and socket joint, so this is quite achievable. Take your time, get halfway and think about having that nice tabletop back, a flat back. So you want to be pulling your belly button back towards the base of your spine. You want to be stretching and creating space from the coccygeal region of your spine, which is the very lowest part, all the way forward through those 33 bones to the crown of your head. It's almost like you've got this silken thread from the crown of your head and it's being pulled directly in front of you, and you're stretching equally into left and right fingertips, and you're lifting the flesh on your inner legs, your outer legs, front and backs of legs. Everything about you is engaging in the position. Another breath in as you create more space, and you exhale and you gently continue with your descent. Now here your hands will once again drop down. They can either rest onto the shins, the outer edge of the ankles. If you're able to and you have a full stretch ability, you can get the hands connecting with the outer edge of the feet. And then you let go of the back of the head and neck. The crown of your head is going to point down towards the mat. You unclench your teeth and you breathe. This is a restorative position for the heart. You're still working the legs, activating and engaging the flesh. The knees are lifting up, the thighs are lifting, the inner thighs creating lovely tonal shape with them now as they connect to the femur bones. Let's bring those hands now shoulder width apart down onto the mat. We're going to take a breath in and we're going to straighten the arms and then chin forward, eyes forward, look forward. Exhale, bend the elbows and lower the body and the head. Keep your elbows, wrists and shoulders in a parallel line with each other. Breathe in, straighten the arms, chin up, eyes up, look up. Exhale, lower the elbows down. And a third time, breathe in. Straighten those arms, chin up, eyes up, look up. Exhale, bend the elbows and lower down. Do not be judgmental if your elbows are nowhere near the mat. Do not be judgmental if you can't straighten your arms. Remember, always look to your guide, your breath. Your breath will give you all the answers you require for your movement, as long as you can allow the ego to acknowledge that yoga is not a quick fix. It takes time, patience, perseverance. Let's breathe in and bring ourselves to this central position now. Have the fingers connected to the mat, the hands shoulder width apart. Now we're practicing this position today because further down our journey we are going to be able to do a headstand from this position. Okay, it is further down down our journey because we're still practicing the levels of getting into headstand, but we're going to weave all these positions together. Let's bring our hands outside of our ankles and then gently draw those fingers up the outside of the legs as we pull the tummy in, restack the bones of our spine, get our shoulders over our hips, and then let's heel and toe the feet together, jump step or walk them together. Give yourself a little bit of a shake if you need to, and then bring yourself down onto the mat and extend your legs in front of you.
There are over 300 asanas, postures in yoga, all of which have variations. So there really is little doubt that you will not get bored with the challenges ahead for all of these movements. They are interesting, they all have benefits for you, both physically and psychologically. So it's all good. Let's bring ourselves into Dandasana, staff posture, one of the basic foundation positions for a lot of other positions to progress from. You can take the flesh of your buttocks, you can draw it from underneath you and bring it up and into the small of your back, doing it with both cheeks, and that actually tips you further forward onto your ischium. The ischial pubosity can be found at the base of the sitting bones, and just by pulling that flesh out behind you, it actually gives you a head start on a forward flexion of the spine, a seated forward flexion. Let's link the thumbs, breathe in, raise the hands above the head. Now be aware, once you've done this, observe whether you've lifted the shoulders right up to the ears, because you think that the stretch is just happening around this part of the body. You actually want to look right down here and make the lift happen from the lowest part of the foundation. So you've lifted the hips up and away from the thigh bones, and then you're going to hinge forward. Observe that the spinal cord is nice and straight as you go forward. You might get to the point again where the ego is going to kick in and it's going to think, I just want to touch my toes. So you're going to round your shoulders and slump and crush your ribs down into your stomach. You want to avoid that. You have a joint here in the spine which makes it tend to round forward. You want to try and keep away from that joint and keep looking at this part of the body for the movement, okay? So take your hands to rest either at your thighs, just beneath the knees, down by the ankles, or at the feet. And remember, you can use a belt or strap, placing it under the balls of your feet and holding on to it, because that will help the spine stay nice and straight even whilst you've got this connection, this bridge connection to your feet. Relax the back of the neck, unclench your teeth and allow the breath to flow freely, and observe. Make any adjustments or alterations you need to. You might want to take a breath in and lift your stomach, and then surrender as you breathe out. You might want to bring the elbows and forearms down to the mat and relax the back of the head even more. And then we'll restack the bones of the spine, pulling the tummy in, coming back to our central position. Let's bring ourselves back to sit cross-legged. Place the hands on the knees, rise up through the torso. Again, if you find it difficult to sit cross-legged, a perfect little working tool will be having the pillow just underneath the sitting bones. Allows your torso to just rise up a little further. You can rest your hands on your knees. You could take up a simple mudra if you like, having the index finger rolled around and connecting with the thumbs. You can have the palms facing upward. This is a position of receptivity. Have the chin parallel with the mat. Soften the skin on your face. especially around the cheeks, the eyes and the forehead. Just allow the skin to smooth back toward the hairline. Relax along the jaw and release in the neck and the throat. Peel the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Allow it to float centrally in the mouth. And you're observing your flow of breath. You're observing how you feel both internally and externally. You're acknowledging your journey so far through your yoga practice, becoming more aware of the potential you have to gain great suppleness and flexibility, to gain freedom of movement, to let go of all that is no longer required within you, either physically or mentally. You can begin to release and surrender all negative thoughts and replace them with positive ones. Think of a nice positive sentence now that you could give yourself. Anything like, I am growing stronger with every day I practice yoga. You could think of something like, I am beautiful from the inside to the outside. You could tell yourself, I am perfect the way I am. You could tell yourself anything that is positive. So do this now. Choose your own mantra for the day and repeat it over and over inside your mind. And the more you repeat positive mantras to yourself, the quicker they manifest and so become your reality. And with that in mind, bring the hands together at the heart. Give thanks for your continued perseverance with yoga, and have gratitude for everything you have. Avoid thinking about what you don't have. And again, that all-powerful remembrance that yoga is good for you.